Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the 8th Plot, where I'm going to continue reading to you from my book, Stolen Futures. If you want to know more about the book, or the universe of the Arkonauts, go to my official website, www.mdrury.co.uk. Or if you wish to get the whole series, because you like what I read to you, head to Spaceboy Books at readspaceboy.com. Let me know what you think of today's chapter in the comments. Enjoy! Chapter 4. The Ghost. The Ark sped beyond the shockwaves and rubble of the Earth's death throes and stabilised. My knuckles were white and my arms a little sore from holding so tight to the rail during the explosion. I didn't look away from the window, but out the corner of my eye I could sense everyone else getting to their feet and shambling forward to see the remains of our homeworld. It felt strange to think of it that way. It implied we had other worlds and that the Earth needed to be identified as something special, but there was nothing special about it anymore. Everything we had known from our 15 years of life was gone. Our nations, the civilizations, people, government, society, friends, family, houses, all gone. The Earth was now a field of debris radiating out from the iron core of the planet that had survived the destruction. There was crying all around, and no one was available to comfort another. Why would they, anyway? We were all strangers here. We hadn't even met during the orientation week. We met the mission specialists individually in our home countries. We stood there in silence. Some of us walked away from the window, some sat down. I suppose from a bunch of 15-year-olds, you would expect a much more emotional or dramatic reaction. All our parents were gone. Our brothers and sisters and friends all gone too. We were alone on an alien ship, and everything that we could count on to keep us safe had been destroyed. We should all be hysterical, maybe even frightened of each other. I should have been throwing up or crying or running around like mad. But it wasn't like that. We had all been prepared. We all had the memories to guide us, implanted in us for this day. Those memories were now activating, as part of the mission, to smooth the transition to our new lives. The day we stopped being average teenagers and became the remnants of the human race. "Children!" a voice suddenly said. These were the first words spoken by anyone since we had arrived on the Ark. Everyone except me looked up at the ceiling in response, the usual human reaction, seeking the source of a disembodied voice. I didn't look up because I knew there was no point. The person who was speaking wasn't hanging from the ceiling. He was very much dead. He was a voice we all knew. It had belonged to a man named Dr. Richard Ghost, the one who had chosen us all to be here, the one who had made this entire project viable, the one who had prepared us all. "Please assemble in the theatre for your mission briefing and leadership introduction. Follow the guide strips to find the correct location on the Ark," Dr. Ghost said. It was then that I followed the gaze of every other child and stared up at the ceiling. A thick red line of light appeared above us. Don't ask me how it was projected in thin air, but there it was. As it flickered into view, it was accompanied by a buzzing sound, just like some fluorescent lights make when they are activated. I didn't immediately follow the red line. For one thing, I was still trying to get it straight in my head that I'd just lost my parents, brother, and home, all because of some fluke I was the right kid. I was born at the right time, with the right DNA to get a place on the Ark. I had no choice in the matter, no one did, and despite being surrounded by more than 250 other chosen children, I felt all alone. Normally I would have just collapsed onto the floor and started bawling my eyes out. But that was when I had a mum to comfort me. Now I had responsibilities. There were things I had to do. I needed to keep going, if not for myself, then for everyone we left behind. I shook off my concerns and started to follow the red line and the doctor's orders. At the time, it didn't click with me that I was the first to do so, but none of the others had moved. I hadn't noticed that half of them had been staring at me ever since the doctor's announcement. 200+ pairs of footsteps followed me, and the red line deeper into the Ark, our home for the next 3 years. Maybe forever. No one spoke on the way to the theatre. We still didn't know each other's names. I started to wonder and silently dread the possibility that there was going to be some kind of icebreaker session, where we'd all have to circulate around the room and learn 3 things about one another. The thought of it made me sick. I don't know why, but I guess it would just be kind of insulting for us, the last representatives of mankind, to do. This wasn't the first day of 4th grade, after all. The corridors inside the Ark felt endless. The orientation week I'd been on included a tour around a mock setup of the vessel, not the real thing, and that model had been smaller. The architecture inside the Ark was strange and felt slightly Victorian, with unnecessary decoration and adornments on the pillars, just like the old train stations in London. It was a spaceship, for heaven's sake. Where was the functionality? Where were the rugged exposed metal panels that I'd seen in space travel movies? I was not entirely happy with the name either, the Ark. No doubt it was someone's hope that giving the ship a religiously important designation bestowed it with gravitas and a deeper meaning. I thought it was just a lack of imagination. I was surprised we weren't called a Genesis crew or something obvious like that. I don't know why people borrow from the Bible in that way, as if the importance of the Bible was in the words it used instead of the meaning it imparted. It isn't important now, though. Whoever named the Ark was gone with the rest of Earth. The red line led us to a room with a tiered seating arrangement facing a large format theatre screen. Immediately, this place felt familiar, but that was to be expected. The room was not a part of the original ship. Human hands had built this and designed it like any other theatre. I wouldn't call it that, though. There was a stage and a screen, however, it was more like a cinema, built for us, for education and entertainment during our long journey, to make us comfortable in uncomfortable times. It was already lit up, and there were 3 tiers of seats, which were further divided into 2 blocks. Subconsciously, due to my new set of implanted memories, I counted the chairs, assessing my surroundings. There were 260 seats divided into 2 big blocks and 10 rows of 13 chairs each. I knew that was too many for those present, which I thought was strange. Were more people joining us? No, that was ridiculous. Maybe there were supposed to be more of us, but they had been rejected. I ignored these thoughts and tried to suppress the implanted memories that had activated them. My head clear, I decided on where to sit. I was first into the room, and I decided on a seat that adhered to the cinema seat-picking policy I'd used on Earth. I chose a row halfway down, so the screen was right in front of me, without me having to raise or lower my head. I also wanted to sit next the aisle because I didn't want to have to embarrass myself or annoy anyone by asking them to move aside so I could get out. As I sat down, the rest of the crowd filled the cinema. No one sat next to me. They left a ring of seats around me, as if I were the sun and they were other planets. Some people would have to sit next to each other eventually. It was inevitable, but no one wanted to be the first to break another's personal space. Some of the children who spoke the same language had found each other and were sticking together. Others, who probably had the benefit of geography and history, found each other too. There were some odd smiles and nods, and for the first time some normal-sounding conversation like, "Anyone sit here?" or "Excuse me," or "Hey, I want that seat." Once we were all seated, the lights dimmed, and the talking children fell silent. In curiosity, I checked my watch and realised that it had been exactly 15 minutes since the announcement. The ship was on a timer. Then the screen lit up. There were no logos or advertisements. This wasn't a summer blockbuster. Just a white screen, and fading into view was Dr. Ghost himself. The man looked like a thinned-down version of Santa Claus. He had lots of white hair and a short, thick beard. I wondered when he had recorded this. A week ago? Maybe more. The dwindling food supply over the past months had ruined most people's health. "Children!" his voice boomed. "Welcome on board the Ark." He winced for a second when he said the ship's name. It obviously wasn't his first choice either. "What we have prepared for has happened. The Earth is no more. It is time for you to consider the future now, and how you will live aboard this alien spaceship." Thank you for listening to this chapter from Stolen Futures. Please like or comment on this video, and subscribe to The Eighth Plot so you don't miss out on the next installment of this book. Goodbye.